Michael Kazilny is our legal editor and Major Mark Campbell is from the Salvation Army. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Michael, to start with you, what sort of charges do these first-time offenders find themselves facing?
Yes, good morning, Mel and Mark. Good morning, everyone. The first thing I'd like to say, Mark, is that not all people who are summoned to go to a court are necessarily bad people. Good and decent people can and do make mistakes, and people go to court for all sorts of reasons. First-time offenders in all Australian courts are being charged with offences such as drink driving, traffic offences, public disorder offences, Commonwealth and social security offences, all sorts of reasons, Mark. And Mel, with the law changing all the time, more and more offences are being created all the time, which means the courts are getting busier every single year. For example, the other day I was in court and there was a whole court full of people who failed to lodge their business activity statements on time, and the Australian Taxation Office were prosecuting, and see, that's an offence, for example, which wasn't around a few years ago. So there's plenty of first-time Australians who unfortunately have to go through the stressful experience of facing court for the very first time.
Major Mark Campbell, this must be really intimidating then. For a lot of people, I would imagine it would be an extraordinarily scary process to go through.
It is. I mean, not only for the accused, you know, fearful, not knowing what the outcome's going to be, quite stressful at times, not only that, but their family as well. At times they're sitting in the court just wondering what's going on. And certainly there needs to be an emotional support towards that, and I suppose that's where the Salvation Army comes in. We're not in a position to give any legal advice at all, just to make them or refer to the court's sort of processes in regards to that.
So often you might just accompany someone, or because I would imagine if you're really a bit nervous, you might miss a bit of what's going on, or you might not listen to everything. Is that where you guys would come in and just guide people through the whole process?
That's right, and I mean, even with the lawyers that are working there, they would know there's a Salvation Army chaplain there and may, you know, bring in the Salvation Army officer and talk with the person and give them some support, not only legally, but emotionally as well.
Yeah. Michael, I guess it's fair enough. Most people are concerned about avoiding a criminal record. Just the fact that you go to court, does that mean automatically you're going to have a record and be convicted?
Not necessarily, Mark. What a lot of people think is that once they receive a summons to go to court, they think the best way to get a no conviction is to vigorously defend the case. But quite often, if there's enough evidence, Mark, the best way to avoid a criminal record is to actually plead guilty. And you'll find that most cases at the lower courts all over Australia are disposed of by a way of plea of guilty. And what magistrates do, Mark, they basically look at the person, and if they believe it's out of character and they look at the previous good character, quite often they give those people a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity not to record a criminal conviction.
Michael, what sort of implications does having a criminal record have, and does it make any difference if it's for a relatively minor offence such as a traffic infringement as opposed to something a lot more serious?
Good question, Mel. I suppose the traffic offences are called summary offences. The employers and the traffic offences don't worry people too much. It's really the criminal offences which would make a big difference and which of course have many detrimental effects on people. A criminal conviction, Mel, could affect the opportunity to travel. It could affect insurance. It could affect employment. So for a lot of young people who've got a bright future ahead, it's very important to avoid a criminal conviction. It could ruin the rest of their lives. For example, Mel, the other day I got a phone call from a professional person who took a Qantas flight to the US. He was detained by authorities because he had a shoplifting conviction some 17 years ago. He was put back on the plane. Yeah, so that's how tough they're getting. So by all means, we're trying to avoid a criminal conviction for especially for first-time offenders.
Michael, what sort of tips do you have for people who find themselves having to deal with the law and just don't know much about the process?
Yes, tip number one is probably to decide which way you want to go, whether you want to plead guilty or not guilty. Number two, get proper legal advice to find out exactly how to get the best result and to minimise your penalty. Number three, dress your best. Show respect for the courts. It's no use turning up in untidy and messy clothing, obviously. Number four, character references are always good. A magistrate will be impressed to see references who can speak about your previous good character. And finally, don't panic. It's no use to worry. Prepare yourself and see the whole incident as a learning lesson. And there's always great people around like the Salvation Army who can help you get back on track.
Mark, what sort of advice would you offer to people then who are heading off to court for the first time?
Yeah, well, they're very good tips from a legal point of view. I think knowing that there's actually other support out there, that there's Salvation Army officers who are chaplains there, that they can sort of tap into that, refer to that. There's a network of support there, and we're there to sort of help them process that and understand really their rights in that regard on the legal side, and to support them.
And it may not be as scary as they think.
Yeah, it may not be.
Yeah. All right, Mark, we appreciate your time. Michael, you also. Thank you both. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.